Sometimes you have an instinct, May. You see something in a fighter. You don't even know if it's real. You're looking for it so bad.
Pro Fight MMA coming back at you to break down this BKFC Roadhouse card we got coming up on Friday. It's going to be in Florida, Clearwater, Florida. Nice BKFC fight night we got coming up Friday. But before that, just got to recap this doubleheader from last week, BKFC 88 Denver and BKFC debuting over in Australia. Pretty disappointed with my picks. Went 5-4 over in Denver, 4-3 on the Australia card. Thought the Australia card was only going to have like 7 fights, but they added 3 free fights really late. Would have been kind of impossible to break down. But didn't even get any betting lines for that Australia card. I don't know if books were sleeping. Didn't know it was a double header of BKFC last week, but only got betting lines on this Denver card. And yeah, I feel like I've been overthinking some of these picks. I just gotta pick who I think is the better fighter. I've seen some crazy things happen in these past few events. I'm just overthinking, like I said, trying to kind of dog hunt too much. I gotta pick who I think's gonna be the favorite and win this fight 6-7 times out of 10 compared to their opponent, you know. And this is a prime example of me just dog hunting, looking for value. Took Ruben Arroyo. Doesn't have a win on his combat sports record. Has a good story. I knew it was going to be a much smaller fighter coming into this fight against Matt Maestas, pretty big lightweight. Didn't know these guys sparred before. That's what they were saying on the commentary. But yeah, Ruben Arroyo just outmatched everywhere on the tail of the tape, as well as in the ring that night. Just Matt Maestas had his number. Ruben Arroyo couldn't get anything going. Looked like he kind of got hurt early. And just a horrible read for me, honestly. I knew he was going to be the underdog. I thought him being at a size disadvantage and all that, I thought he'd make up for it. Being the quicker fighter, more hand speed. But no. Honestly thought he was going to be a bigger underdog coming into that fight. He was like plus 150, plus 180, I forget. Somewhere in that range. And Matt Maestas just got him out of there fairly easily. Pretty wonky standing KO that Matt Maestas delivered on Ruben Arroyo. Arroyo looked like he was out on his feet. Credit to him for not going down, touching the canvas, but just outclassed, outmatched, outsized, out everything. And a poor pick from my perspective. Another poor pick, took Eric Lozano, low confidence, thought the experience, the size would get him done in this matchup. Welcome Duran win to his BKFC debut. And I'm kind of biting myself for this one because this Duran win just broke Eric Lozano. He just made it a dirty, gritty, clinch, kind of wrestling bare knuckle match and completely gassed out Eric Lozano, I'd say by the second round. Just way better cardio by Duran Win, just broke him cardio wise. Eric Lozano was completely gassed out. They were in Colorado, Mile High City. Should have added that more into my cap in there. Just beat by the altitude. Great game plan by Duran Win. Just wore out Eric Lozano. It's not like Eric Lozano was even really hurt or rocked from the shots. He just cardio killed him, man. Next one we got wrong. I took Andrew Yates, low confidence. Rodney Hinton came out, hurt him very early, and first shot he threw knocked Yates down. And Yates kind of didn't want to didn't really look like he wanted to be in there after that knockdown. I kind of agree with it, and the ref ended up stopping because Yates kind of was just had this look on his face like he wasn't sure if he wanted to keep going. It was a brutal knockdown. Rodney Hinton just big overhand caught Yates early, kind of caught him off guard, and ref didn't like what he was seeing. Yates said he wanted to fight, but just body language wise, ref called it. I like Yates. He was fighting in his hometown. Like I said, dad was going to be in his corner. Just getting a little bit older, facing a young, brawler, reckless, athletic Rodney Hinton. And, yep, props to Rodney Hinton this fight. Next fight, Josh Copeland versus Corey What You Talking About Willis. Took Josh Copeland low confidence. Ended up tearing his bicep. And that's how the fight ended. Just he couldn't fight anymore. Just Josh Copeland getting there in the later stage of his career. And Corey Willis, man, I didn't expect him to be that athletic for his age. Just kind of running circles around Josh Copeland. Just way better footwork. I would say even explosiveness in and out. Just overall looked like the better fighter. I thought Josh Copeland would be able to grind it out, kind of break him, but Corey Willis was on his way to winning that fight, whether Josh Copeland didn't tear his bicep or not. And yeah, those are the 4 out of 9 fights I got wrong for this card. Hopping over this Australia card, like I said, they added these 3 free fights last minute. I'll talk about a couple of them quick, at least the ones that I watched. I ended up watching this Darcy Brain versus Rickie Fayaso fight, and one of the clearest, mismatches, I would say, I guess, because Darcy Brain came into this weighing the most ever for a BKFC fighter in BKFC history. Came into this weighing 320 or something. And then Rickie came into this weighing 240. So Darcy had an 80-pound weight advantage on Rickie, 7-inch height advantage. And just the odds were really against Rickie in this fight. And he got dropped twice, maybe 3 times. Credit to him, though, for going the full 3 rounds against Darcy. I saw a little hiccup. There must have been Dan Miragliotta was getting pretty upset at Rickie's corner. Rickie got hurt pretty bad in the first round and dropped, and then going back to his corner, I'm pretty sure his cut man wasn't even there. He was just gone. And then you had Dan Miragliotta freaking out, asking what's going on, where the hell is this guy? So a little hiccup there that you don't really like to see. But other than that, great Australia card. I want to get into BKFC Denver's post-fight interview as well. That kind of rattled me a little bit. But we'll get to that in a minute. I don't really remember this fight. I do remember this fight, Asher Jack versus Chris Drummond. I like Asher Jack, man. He's a fun, exciting fighter. I look forward to watching him fight, hopefully in the BKFC, not just in Australia, man. I think this guy I think he deserves to make it in the organization. So you could say Asher Jack's on my radar. Delivering a nasty knockout, closed Chris Drummond's eye in the second round. Moving on to the main card, this is where my predictions started. Patrick Talone versus Fatangi Tuinauvai. Okay, this is one I jumped ship on. Cooper Clark versus Ryan Winnett. Was on Ryan Winnett off the jump. Finally found Cooper Clark's Instagram. Saw he was a Golden Gloves winner 2025. When I saw the odds, I was pretty surprised that he was listed as the favorite. So, but Ryan Winnett, man, round 1, Cooper Clark from range, punching out the jab, frustrating Ryan Winnett, you could tell. Cooper Clark took that first round pretty easy. Looked like he was displaying the better, more technical boxing skills. Like I said, Ryan Winnett just wants to come in there and throw big overhands and hopefully one lands. And I feel like after round one, just Ryan Winnett's corner absolutely lit into him. Like, I believe Ryan Winnett's corner lit a fire under him after that first round. Like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. You're going to let this kid beat you. And Ryan Winnett, after the first round, he came out like a whole different fighter, pushing on the gas, backing Cooper Clark up, landing some heavy shots, and Cooper Clark just kept getting dropped. Really disappointing because Cooper Clark had a good first round. I thought he won that first round. Just now seeing the fist size, and that's an insane difference right there. Also, this fight was scheduled for 145. I don't know if both really couldn't make weight. I've also noticed in BKFC the weigh-ins are kind of sus. I don't know if I don't know how much BKFC really cares about you making weight, man. I think they just want you to fight. Oh, this one hurts. Took Braden Marzona high confidence against Boaz Kapua. Boaz Kapua just came out early, hurt Braden Marzona bad. I thought I was reading through the lines in this fight. I thought Marzona was the side to pick. I thought he was going to be the bigger, stronger, more technical fighter in this matchup, boxer. And he was a more active recently. Boaz Kapua kind of hasn't had a boxing match in like over a year longer than Braden Marzona. But once again here, like the fist size, man, if this is really true, like BKFC doesn't ever, they don't release this till too late, but yeah, this guy's got Donkey Kong's fist apparently. Props to Boaz Kapua, I did not expect that. And then last one we got wrong was Mark Flanagan versus Dylan Prasovich. Took Mark Flanagan low confidence, and like I said, it was a layoff, man. The layoff kind of hurt him in this fight, I believe. Just really couldn't shake the rust off early, and Dylan just looked way more athletic, taller, bigger fighter in this matchup. Hurt Mark Flanagan early before he could shake off any rust from that layoff. Dylan Prasovich is going to be a problem for this heavyweight division, man. He's really quick on his feet, quick hands, solid power. And that speed's going to give a lot of these heavyweights some problems. So, like I said, went 9-7 with my combined picks from the doubleheader. BKFC debut in Australia went great. BKFC Denver. Every BKFC card is extremely entertaining. Never seen a boring one. But before we hop over to this Roadhouse breakdown, I just want to point out this clown. I watched the BKFC 88 Denver, the press conference after the fight, and a couple fighters' post-fight interviews. And this guy comes out, I don't know what his involvement is in BKFC, but he's here because David Feldman went to Australia for that card. So he came to the BKFC Denver card, so he had to handle this. And like I said, whatever like department he's in, whatever he does in BKFC, I hope he stays kind of distance himself from it, because he comes out of the gate, gives the bonus per senior to Josh Fremd, just because Josh Fremd like got a first round knocked out, asked for it. UFC, one of the most popular UFC fighters he kind of got of recent. I don't know. And then he comes out and great fight by Andrew Yost. Great fight by Octavio Turner. This guy doesn't even know BKFC fighters' names. You don't even know the names of your fighters in your organization. You're not even butchering their names. You're saying the complete wrong name. Just embarrassing in my opinion. And yeah, just a clown. Just keep this guy far away from doing this stuff in my opinion. Alright, let's get right into this BKFC Fight Night Roadhouse card. First fight of the night, 2 debuters fighting out of Florida. This is where the card's taking place in Clearwater, Florida. Roadhouse Museum, gonna be a sick card. Lightweight bout, 28-year-old Thomas Jungle is gonna be taking on 29-year-old Anthony Grubbs. Not much to really break down in this fight, to be honest, for the first fight of the night. Looking at the tail of the tape, only really got the height on Thomas Jungles. Should be about 5'10" coming into this fight. I'm seeing Grubbs is coming into this with some boxing experience. Had to do some deep diving, found some of his sparring on Facebook. And I can't find anything on this Thomas Jungles kid. I can't find anything. No combat experience, no MMA, no boxing. I'm sure once he gets in the ring, the commentators are going to be like, oh, here comes Thomas Jungles, 20-2 amateur boxer. Something like that. I don't know. Never fails. But like I said, saw Grubbs, saw some sparring on his Facebook. Seeing some coaches shout him out. Looking forward to him debuting in BKFC. And saying that he was one of their top students in Grubbs. And just watching some sparring out of Grubbs, I think he's pretty decent, man. And I'm going to have to pick the fighter here that I actually watched fight tape on. And that I know has actually fought before. Not saying that Thomas Jungles gets in some scraps on the street in Florida, but it's different being in a controlled environment, having a regulated boxing match, MMA, whatever, bare knuckle. And Grubbs has done that before, and it's one of those picks where Grubbs is showing me something and I'm not seeing anything out of Jungles. Doesn't mean that he's not live in this fight, but I just can't pull the trigger, so I'm going to be taking Anthony Grubbs here. Should be low confidence, but I'm going to actually go average. I think he's a good boxer, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from some of his coaches shouting him out. So give me Grubbs here, average confidence. On to the next fight. Alright, next fight we have a flyweight bout. You have 38-year-old Chachi Versace, aka Gregory Rodriguez, going to be welcoming Gabriel Hernandez to his BKFC debut. Looking like Hernandez is going to be the younger fighter coming into this fight. Looking at the height and reach, I have no idea. Looking at his picture, I don't know how the guy makes flyweight. The guy must be like 5'4" or something, I don't know. But I'm surprised Chachi Versace makes flyweight as well. He used to weigh like 200 pounds, up near there, like back in the day when he was fighting MMA and kickboxing and all that. But lost a bunch of weight, still holds some power, does everything pretty well. 0-1-1 BKFC record, but he's shown some potential in the squared circle in his BKFC fights. Hungry, looking for his first BKFC win. He's 1-4 in amateur MMA, 0-1 pro or amateur boxing, 1-0 amateur kickboxer. Both these fighters fighting out of Florida. I can't find anything on Gabriel Hernandez. I don't know what kind of skill set he's coming into this with. I'm sure once he steps in the ring, the commentary is going to be like, and Gabriel Hernandez is coming into this with a 40-2 Muay Thai record. And I'm going to be like, oh, cool, you couldn't have put that on BKFC.com. Like, if we hop over to BKFC.com, I'll just show you. They sometimes don't let you know anything. All you get to know is what weight division they're fighting at, which sometimes feels like they're not even fighting at the weight division they're supposed to be. But yeah, that's what I'm working with here. And when it comes down to making a pick for this fight, it's tough. I guess I have to go with a guy with more experience. He's an older fighter, but he's pretty durable. Does everything pretty good. I just don't see Chachi Versace losing in Florida, man. when he's hungry, looking for his first win. Kind of let a win slip away, and he was fighting some Lenny guy. I ended up taking Lenny that fight, and he dropped him once or twice in the later rounds. And if he just stayed in his corner while the ref was giving him his count, he might have won that fight. He just didn't stay neutral in his corner, and like he said, his adrenaline was pumping, and the ref kept resetting him back to his corner, and that was delaying the count on his opponent. Just this guy looks pretty athletic, and Gabriel Hernandez, don't know what he's going to show up looking like. And I believe that fight against Chachi Versace's last fight that went to a draw was against a much bigger opponent. I don't know if the speed could have helped in that fight, fighting up. Maybe Chachi had the lighter man's skill. Just a bunch of questions to ask this fight where you don't know nothing on the other side, so you're just guessing. Can't be mad if I get this wrong because there's just nothing really to look at, but I'm going to be taking Chachi Versace here, low confidence to get his first win in BKFC. Looking for him to be crafty in the ring, good footwork. He has good head movement. He's durable. And at least I know he can take shots with the gloves off, so give me Chachi Versace here. Not confident at all. On to the next fight. Alright, hopping over to the last free fight for this card. I don't know if the whole card is free or not. It's a fight night, but it says this is the last free fight that they'll be streaming for this card. You can watch all the free fights live on YouTube on BKFC on their channel. But we got a heavyweight bout. You have Terry Williams taking on 42-year-old Bolo Carthon. Terry Williams going to be making his debut fighting out of Florida. Taking on Bolo Carthon, who is 0-1 in BKFC. Looking at the tail of the tape, can't find anything on Terry Williams. Looks like he might be the slightly bigger fighter in this matchup. But apparently Bolo Carthon coming in this with a 78-inch reach. Pretty lanky for his height. Don't know how accurate that is, but that's what they have him listed as. Bolo Carthon, 2-2 in professional MMA, 1-1 Muay Thai. Also holds a win in bare knuckle in a different promotion. And trains out of American Top Team. Very, very good camp. His adversary, Terry Williams, 0-1 pro boxer, 0-1 amateur boxing. Coming way back in 2011, 2012. So same story here, just not getting much on the Terry Williams side. I'm liking what I'm seeing on the Bolo Carthon side. Coming off a bare knuckle win recently. Looks like he's in better shape. Trains out of a good gym in American Top Team. I'd imagine he's coming into this being the more technical striker. Hopefully more durable. He is 42 years old, but this is heavyweight and age can increase a little bit more in these heavier divisions. And kind of same thought process here. I want to take the fighter that's actually showing me something, the more active fighter. And I'm just hoping Bolo Carthon's more fight ready for this matchup. This is heavyweight though. It only takes one shot, especially at heavyweight. You could say that for bare knuckle in general, but these heavyweights just possess a lot of power in their hands, and Terry Williams looks like he's a big boy. Something telling me that these lines are going to be pretty close. I just got to pick Bolo Carthon here. I'm going to take him average confidence. Little bit more bare knuckle experience. He's 1-1, 0-1 in BKFC, but he made it to the third round in that fight, and if you're a heavyweight going 3 rounds, he's gone 3 rounds before, so he should have a decent gas tank, and he's just checking more boxes for me that Terry Williams can. So give me Bolo Carthon, low confidence on the next fight. All right, lightweight bout up next. You have 30-year-old Jason Dinunzio going to be taking on 34-year-old Anthony Foye. Jason Dinunzio, 0-1 in BKFC. Fighting out of Florida, looking to get his first BKFC win in Florida, in his hometown, or home state at least. Going to be taking on Anthony Foye, 1-4 in BKFC. But in those 5 fights in BKFC, Anthony Foye's fought a tough level of competition and has shown off his durability. Seems like he's a tough matchup for anybody in this lightweight division, just because of his length. As you can see here, 77-inch reach. Seems like he causes a lot of problems. Likes to fight from the outside. Defensive fighter. Went 0-4 in professional MMA, 3-7 on the amateurs, 0-1 in pro boxing. Jason Dinunzio, 0-1 pro boxer. Pretty sure he was like 2-0 amateur boxer. And this fight's kind of tough here. You have Jason Dinunzio coming into this, 0-1 in BKFC. Not much experience, really. Seems like he's still learning. You watch some of his fights, and he's getting stopped early, man. He looks kind of hesitant in there. He hasn't really got going in a lot of his fights. And he just gets hurt and put out first round early. And it's not really much to go off of. Seems like he doesn't really take damage that well. And he's fighting Anthony Foye, who's fought some top-level competition in BKFC and shown off his durability. Went to decision with a lot of these fighters. But he is coming into this on short notice. Jason Dinunzio was supposed to fight somebody else, but that fight got scratched. And Anthony Foye is coming into this on 2-3 day notice. Let's see, hopping over to Jason Dinunzio's IG. Looks like this kid's in pretty good shape. Looks like he's had a full camp for this fight. He is getting this short notice switch up on his opponent, but I'm liking the shape that he's coming into, full camp. His opponent's essentially coming off of the couch. Show you him hitting the pads here. I think he looks sharp, and I kind of got to go with the fighter coming off a full camp in his hometown. Hungry, looking for his first BKFC win. Needs to make a statement. I'm not seeing anything on the Anthony Foye side, like no recent pad work. It honestly looks like he's just coming off the couch and accepting this fight, kind of saving this card. Props up to him. Gonna get a nice check for that, I'd imagine. But I think this is Dinunzio's golden opportunity to get his first BKFC win. Hoping he carries more power in this matchup, and hopefully that's the factor. Hopefully he's the more aggressive, powerful boxer in this matchup, and hopefully he can get a dub. Give me Jason Dinunzio. We'll go low confidence because Anthony Foye is durable. Has went the distance with some respectable names, but coming off the couch, full camp, Dinunzio, lock it in. Up middleweight bout, you have 36-year-old Frankie Soloman making his BKFC debut. Going to be taking on 28-year-old Rickie McConnico, who's 1-0 in BKFC. Pretty sure his one win coming off the Prospect Series a couple years ago. Just diving into the tail of the tape real quick. Can't really find much on Rickie McConnico's height reach, but I believe Frankie Soloman's going to be coming into this fight slight size advantage. I just feel like Frankie Soloman has a little bit more muscle mass on him compared to Rickie McConnico. McConnico more of a slender build. But yeah, we got Frankie Soloman making his transition from pro boxing to bare knuckle. Holds a 6-4 pro boxing record. 3 of those 6 wins coming by knockout. Never been knocked out. Recently fought about a month ago, coming off a round 3 knockout win against a 7-0 opponent. Also, Frankie Soloman is a southpaw. I believe Rickie McConnico is an orthodox, so southpaw orthodox matchup here. His adversary McConnico, 2-1 in pro MMA, 7-2 amateur. He's a Marine combat engineer. And also here you have Frankie Soloman. He's going to have the hometown advantage in this fight, fighting out of Florida. McConnico coming onto enemy territory for this fight. Looking at Frankie Soloman's IG, Looks like he spent some time with a lot of BKFC fighters before he's making his debut, so it's really nothing new to him this game. And it's good to see a lot of like interactions with him and BKFC fighters before his debut. He trains with Lorenzo Hunt. Lorenzo Hunt, when he's speaking highly of you, that's got to mean something. Seeing as how Lorenzo Hunt, current champion, #1 pound for pound in BKFC rankings. You see Frankie Soloman here with Paulo Costa. So Paulo Costa might have gave Frankie some secret juice, you know what I'm saying? Because looks like Frankie has some power in his hands. Looks like he's a power puncher, that's for sure. Like I said, looks very, very athletic. Looks like he's got a lot of muscle on him. Should have the power advantage in this fight against McConnico. See him here training with Lorenzo Hunt. Here's Frankie just working on his power shots. I like how he really turns his hip into like these punches. It's not just arms and upper body, man. If you gotta put your lower body into these punches as well. And I believe if one of these lands, man, it's lights out for your opponent. Once again, this is old, but you see him working on his defense as well. It's not just offense in this game. You have to be defensively sound as well. And this is pretty old, but just want to show him actually just hitting some pads. Show off his speed a little bit, because he has speed as well as power, and that's a great combination. You time that up, man, that's fight ending right there. That's fight ending written all over it. Looking on the McConnico side, I'm just really not seeing much. I watched a couple of his pro MMA fights. That's all I could really find. And I believe this is just going to be a tough stylistic matchup for him. Facing the peer boxer, I just think Frankie's going to be more technical, possess more power. And I think this is going to be a tough matchup for Rickie here. I just think a lot of advantages are going to be on the Frankie Soloman side. I'm going to take him here average confidence. Kind of leaning more towards high confidence rather than low, but I'm going average. I think it'll be a solid parlay piece. I could see Frankie coming in here in the -300s in his debut. We'll see if we can get him a little bit cheaper. That'd be awesome. But Frankie Soloman the pick. Average confidence on to the next fight. Next up, featherweight bout. You have 36-year-old Brandon Allen going to be welcoming Lukas Jones to his BKFC debut. Believe Lukas Jones is about 31 years old. Coming into this with some bare-knuckle boxing experience, going 2-2 over in the BKB boxing promotion over in Colorado. Both these fighters do not like going the distance. 80% KO rate for Brandon Allen and 100% KO rate for Lukas Jones. Looking more into the tail of the tape, Brandon Allen should have a significant height and reach advantage coming into this fight, facing the much shorter 5'5" Lukas Jones. Lukas Jones 0-1 pro MMA, 0-3 amateur, 0-1 in Muay Thai, but found some success fighting bare knuckle, going 2-2 BKB promotion over there in Colorado. Also 1-0 in boxing, in cage boxing. Brandon Allen 4-2 amateur MMA record. And both these fighters kind of brawlers, man. Like I said, they don't really like going the distance. Lukas Jones, very pressure type fighter, brawler. Likes to get inside the pocket, cause chaos, make the fight dirty. Has some nasty clinch work. Really likes his uppercuts. Both these fighters can get hit. Not the best defense out of both these fighters. They both keep their hands pretty low. I would say Brandon Allen has a little bit more better head movement, a little bit better defense in this matchup. But it's going to come down to cutting off corners and footwork as well, because Lukas Jones likes to put some pressure on you. Cardio side, I would lean Brandon Allen. He's went the distance before in BKFC multiple times, I believe. I'd like to see if Lucas Jones could make possibly bantamweight, because he's going to be outsized in almost every fight that he fights in featherweight. He said he's used to fighting the longer, taller opponents, but Brandon Allen's no joke. He's got a solid BKFC record. He's fought some tough opponents. Looking resume side, I would lean Brandon Allen as well. I think he's beat the tougher opponents. Brandon Allen's just gotta avoid the clinch really in this fight. Seems like that's where Lucas Jones causes the most chaos and lands the most damage. Is in the pocket, and sometimes Brandon Allen likes to brawl back. But I'm hoping that he learns some things in his fight against Nico Gaffey, who kind of has the same build as Lucas Jones and just devastating power. And I'm hoping Brandon Allen just kind of fights smart, sticks to the outside and doesn't play the inside pocket game, clinch game with Lucas Jones. I want to take Brandon Allen average confidence, but I'm going to take him low confidence. On to the next fight. Welterweight bout, you have 31-year-old Mike Heckert going to be taking on 36-year-old Justin Walters. Heckert 1-1 in BKFC. Walters 0-1 in BKFC. Looking at the tail of the tape, 5'11" Heckert, 5'10" Walters. I think Heckert's going to have a slight size advantage, maybe reach advantage in this fight as well. 0-1 in professional MMA, 7-7 amateur. Walters 7-5 amateur MMA, 2-1 kickboxer, 1-0 in Muay Thai. Also, Heckert gonna have the hometown on his side here, fighting out of Florida. Coming off a 2-year layoff, I don't know if he was injured or what, but coming off a hiatus from BKFC. Then you got Walters, who has been pretty active recently, coming off of last fought Muay Thai in March 7th, and he's coming off a unanimous decision win. If you watch any of my breakdowns before, I don't really like fighters going full decision and then going right back into camp. Usually you take some damage when you go the full 10-15 minutes. Then you jump right back into a camp. I just don't really like that for a lot of fighters. But you have Mike Heckert coming off a 2-year layoff. So a couple little things to look out for there. Looking at Walters, apparently he's the demon of Muay Thai, or at least that's his nickname. I guess he holds a lot of Muay Thai fights. And that's where a lot of his experience comes from, even though I only have him listed as 1-0 in Muay Thai. Seems like he's got a lot of fights in that martial art. Jumping right over to Mike Heckert. See him hitting the pads here. Looks pretty quick for this welterweight division. Looks like he's in great shape, and he's shredded for a welterweight, man. Here you see him working on the bag here. Medium bag. Not really loading up on his punches, keeping his punches nice and straight and technical. I like that. You see him turn it up a little bit right here. Nice fast combinations. I think this kid's in great shape. Not really liking the technical side of Justin Walters. I think possibly his kicks and knees are the best part of his game, which is getting taken away in this bare knuckle bout. Has a lot of looping punches from what I can tell. That doesn't really set them up. I'm going to go Mike Heckert here, high confidence. I think he's kind of going to walk through Justin Walters here. This might be the hammer of the card. We'll see when the lines are released. On to the next fight. Middleweight bout, 34-year-old Tony Murphy going to be taking on 25-year-old Skyler Mauller. Tony Murphy 2-0 in BKFC. Skyler Mauller 1-1 in BKFC. Skyler Mauller is taking this fight on short notice. I want to say less than a week, but Not too certain on that. Skyler Mauller did have a fight scheduled outside of BKFC, a bare knuckle bout, and he dropped that. BKFC gave him the call, and props to Skyler Mauller. Will fight anyone, anytime. He's a fighter, man. Still young in the game. Holds a 2-4 pro MMA record, 1-5 amateur, 1-2 amateur kickboxer, 0-2 pro boxer. Orthodox fighter, going to be taking on the southpaw Tony Murphy. Tony Murphy 3-3 professional MMA record, 12-9 amateur. Skyler Mauller, I would classify him as a brawler. Likes to get in there and get the job done quick. Hasn't really made it to many decisions in his combat sports career. On the other hand, Tony Murphy seems like a guy that's pretty tough to put away compared to Skyler Mauller, who seems like he can't really take much damage, but still young in the game, 25 years old, still learning on the fly. Short notice opponent change for Skyler Mauller, but he should be in shape. It looked like his fight was scheduled at 200 pounds, though, that he had to cancel to take to this fight. So seems like he cuts a lot of weight. And Skyler Mauller is 1-2 in BKFC. I made a little error there. Seems like BKFC was possibly going to let him off the leash till they needed to call him and see if he wanted to take this short notice fight. Hopefully this gets him a couple more fights in BKFC. I just don't really love this short notice matchup. Possibly still on a full camp, but has to cut extra weight, fighting at a different weight class that he was originally scheduled at. Facing the pretty durable, hard to put away Tony Murphy. I just really can't trust the chin of Skyler Mauller. Seems like if he gets touched early, he goes down. I think I'm just going to lean with Tony Murphy's resume here. Trains out of Coconut Creek, Florida. I'm sure he's run into a lot of high-grade, high-level fighters. Has gone to decision with some MMA fighters that hold now like a 7-1 pro MMA record. I just can't trust Skyler Mauller yet. Like I said, he's got some potential. Hopefully BKFC rewards him with 1 or 2 more fights after this fight, if he does get the loss. I do kind of want to take Skyler Mauller here for some reason, man, but I'm going to take Tony Murphy, low confidence. I'll be curious to see what the odds are like on this fight when the lines come out. But it's going to be a firefight, that's for sure. Just they're both kind of like blitz fighters, and I could see either one getting caught on the next fight. Strawweight bout, have some ladies on this card. 38-year-old Crystal Van Wyck going to be taking on 32-year-old Kat Paprocki. Crystal Van Wyck 2-2 in BKFC. Paprocki 1-1. Seems like Crystal Van Wyck, usually the lankier fighter in the strawweight division. Tall, lanky fighter, going to be taking on Kat Paprocki. 3-3 professional MMA record. 3-0 amateur MMA. 1-1 in pro boxing. Fought in both Dana White Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter, losing both by unanimous decision. Crystal Van Wyck, 1-3 in professional MMA, 1-4 amateur MMA, 0-1 pro boxer. Power side advantage, I lean for this fight. I'd lean on the Paprocki side. Crystal Van Wyck, more of a volume striker. Death by 1,000 cuts. On the later side of her career, taking on Kat Paprocki, or you could say is in her prime of her career. Hopping over to Kat Paprocki's IG 7 weeks ago. Seems like she's got almost a full camp under her belt. Looks like she's in good shape. See her doing some pad work here. Trains out of Denver, Colorado, so should be able to put a pretty good pace on Crystal Van Wyck here. Seems like you need to put on a pretty good pace to get her out of there. Or at the very least, it gives Crystal Van Wyck some problems when you pressure her and put a pace on her. I'm hoping Kat Paprocki can just stay out of range of Crystal Van Wyck's jab, because it feels like Van Wyck does most of her work from the outside, from distance. I'm going to be taking Paprocki here. I'll go average confidence for her to close the distance, land some shots on the inside, then get out, in and out work. Be the more powerful, more imposing fighter in the ring. So give me Kat Paprocki here, average confidence, on to the next fight. Moving on, co-main event, bantamweight bout. You have 38-year-old number 2 ranked Ryan Reber going to be taking on 32-year-old Joshua Oxendine. Ryan Reber, BKFC veteran, 7-2 BKFC record. Joshua Oxendine getting a big step up in competition after winning his debut. He is 1-0 in BKFC, but holds a 3-3 bare knuckle record outside of BKFC and BKB boxing. Pretty tall bantamweight, 5'10" compared to Reber, 5'9", but Reber should have about a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight, even though Oxendine is the longer, more lanky fighter. Looks like Reber is going to have the reach advantage coming into this. Oxendine coming into this with more MMA, more boxing experience. He's 10-7 professional MMA record, 5-5 amateur MMA, 4-0 pro boxer. I put an asterisk near that because he's beat like an 0-8 fighter, 0-10 fighter. Just kind of stat padding. But nonetheless, 4-0 pro boxing record. 0-1 pro kickboxer, and like I said, 3-3 in bare knuckle outside of the BKFC. And you just got Reber, who's 0-1 pro boxing and amateur, who made the transition from boxing to bare knuckle pretty well. You got Reber fighting out of Florida, so you have Oxendine coming into this enemy territory, fighting up in rankings, fighting the number 2 ranked bantamweight. I think it's a huge step up in competition. Oxendine is a crafty, elusive striker. Probably the more technical striker coming into this matchup. But kind of like the Skyler Mauller read, or the reads I'm getting off Skyler Mauller, that it seems like Oxendine doesn't take damage very well. Then on the other hand, you have Reber, who you have to break his orbital to really get him out of there. I think all the pressure is on Oxendine in this fight, fighting up in rankings, going to enemy territory. And I like Oxendine. I took him in his debut. But usually BKFC, man, they build up their fighters a little slowly. And it seems like they're kind of just rushing him into the spot here. And I just think Ryan Reber's got that a little bit more dog in him. He's more gritty. I think he's going to have a little bit more power in this matchup. I could see Oxendine like sprinting back on the straight line. And his chin's a little up there, man. I could see Reber catching him maybe second, third round, kind of figuring out Oxendine's pattern. Ryan Reber's been in there with some of the best in this bantamweight division. And Oxendine's beat some tough opponents over there in BKB. But I just don't like how they're rushing him into this matchup against Reber. I do think Oxendine's slightly quicker, more technical. I just think Reber's got a little bit more power. And I think he's going to find his chin throughout 5 rounds if they have to in this fight. Reber says you got to kill him when he's in there, and I just don't see the same out of Oxendine. I'm going to take Reber here, average confidence. Could be low confidence, though. Putting some respect on Oxendine. He's a solid boxer, but I question his durability. And he's a clean striker. I don't know if he's got the power to get Ryan Reber out of there. So give me Ryan Reber here, average confidence. On to the next fight. I'm just going to hop over to Ryan Reber's Instagram here quick. You see him practicing some body work, some body conditioning. Both these fighters, I failed to mention, they're not just headhunters, man. They'll work the body. They'll try and finish you with a liver shot, kidney shot. It's going to be a very high-level technical matchup here. You just got Ryan Reber getting up there in age, facing a young, hungry lion, and Oxendine trying to steal his number 2 rank and catapult him to the top of this bantamweight division if he does pull up off this what would be massive upset. Still gonna lean with the Reber side though. Average confidence on to the main event. Alright, main event for this BKFC Roadhouse bantamweight bout. 36-year-old Quentin Gaskins going to be taking on 37-year-old Matt Guymon. Quentin Gaskins 2-1 in BKFC. Matt Guymon 1-2 in BKFC. Looking right in the tally of tape, Matt Guymon is one of the taller fighters for this bantamweight division. Gonna possess about 3.5-inch reach advantage in this fight. Matt Guymon, known for his durability, uses his length really well. Good fighter from distance, can get scrappy on the inside as well. But like I said, most known for his durability and really tough to get out of there. Even if you drop him, he's usually getting right back up, and he's putting a frantic pace on you as well. Matt Guymon 0-2 pro MMA record, 2-5 amateur MMA, 1-1 kickboxing record, and he's 1-0 in bare knuckle outside of BKFC. Looking at his adversary, Quentin Gaskins, 1-5 professional MMA record, 5-2 amateur MMA, and he's 1-0-1 in pro boxing. Also going to have Florida on the side for this main event. Hopping right over to Quentin Gaskins' IG. You can see him here training his defense. I told you guys I like that. I like fighters trying to train their head movement, train their defense, work on their footwork. It's only going to help. You see Kai Stort, 6-time defending champion featherweight, leans mostly on his elusiveness, his footwork, his defense. Defense wins championships, and it could be said for bare knuckle, man. A lot of these fighters need to rely on their defense, be defensively sound. One cut, one punch can end it in bare knuckle quick. So I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Gaskins here. Looks like he's got some speed and some power to go with it. But like I said, I just like his elusiveness, man. Seems like Matt Guymon kind of more leans on his chin for his defense. And that only works for so long and works at only certain levels. Looking at Gaskins, though, it does look like he's going to be a little bit shorter in this matchup. Looks like the tally of tape might not be 100% correct. Matt Guymon is a long, lanky striker, and he uses it to the best of his advantage. You have Ryan Reber, who took Matt Guymon to decision and won, and he gave all the credit to Matt Guymon, telling him he's tough, man. But you have Quentin Gaskins, who was training with Ryan Reber. You know Ryan Reber's going to help him out and give him some tips on this fight. I'm going to be taking Quentin Gaskins here, average confidence. Hopefully be able to slip and land some counters on Matt Guymon, who is hittable, and possibly get him out of there. That's going to do it for my picks breakdown. On to the quick pick segment. Alright, moving on to the quick pick segment for this video. First fight of the night, we have a lightweight bout. Thomas Jungle is going to be taking on Anthony Grubbs. Pick here is going to be Anthony Grubbs, average confidence. Second free fight of the night, you have a flyweight bout. You have Chachi Versace going to be taking on Gabriel Hernandez. Pick here is going to be Chachi Versace, low confidence. Next up, heavyweight bout. You have Terry Williams versus Bolo Carthon. Going to be taking Bolo Carthon here, low confidence. Lightweight bout, you have Jason Dinunzio going to be taking on short notice Anthony Foye. Pick here is going to be Anthony Dinunzio, low confidence. Middleweight bout up next. Frankie Soloman going to be taking on Rickie McConnico. Going to be taking Frankie Soloman here. Average confidence. Featherweight bout up next. You have Brandon Allen going to be taking on Lukas Jones. Going to be taking Brandon Allen here. Low confidence. Welterweight bout. You have Mike Heckert going to be taking on Justin Walters. Pick here is going to be Mike Heckert. High confidence. Middleweight bout, you have Tony Murphy versus Skyler Mauller. Going to be taking Tony Murphy here, low confidence. Next up, we have a ladies strawweight bout. You have Crystal Van Wyck versus Kat Paprocki. Going to be taking Kat Paprocki here, average confidence. Next up, co-main event bantamweight bout. You have number 2 ranked Ryan Reber taking on Joshua Oxendine. Going to be taking Ryan Reber here, average confidence. On to the main event. Alright, main event for this BKFC Fight Night Roadhouse card. You have Quentin Gaskins taking on Matt Guymon. Pick here is going to be Quentin Gaskins, average confidence. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Shout out to Bare Knuckle Casual. Go check him out, YouTube, Instagram. He keeps putting my name out there, and I appreciate all the support that I'm getting from everyone. Bro Fight MMA out.